Aloha marketing friends. In this video I'm going to be doing a case study on Elara.care and showing you how, if you've been struggling to create an offer that converts and copy that converts, how dialing in the problem and solution that your target audience is trying to get to, the problem they're trying to solve and the solution that they're looking for, that will make everything else much easier. So let's dive into it. The basic offer here is to run a 3-month pilot program to essentially install or give female students access to menstrual products on campus, or something similar to that, right? Depending on the particular type of establishment. So I think there are a couple important things here to point out. One is that we have to consider the stage of awareness that the target audience is in. So getting them to sign up for a 3-month pilot right now is probably a very big leap for them to make, right? Almost certainly with this type of audience. Now, research might prove me wrong, right? But it's very likely that an establishment that has not implemented this kind of program either has not justified the expenses in it, and therefore likely does not sufficiently understand the potential problem in order to say this is important enough for us to do something. So where do we start? So this is like starting with the solution. I would probably start with the problem. If we back up even more in terms of site design, this whole section is not a very effective use of space. I'd rather have the headline up here, but we're not going to be talking about design that much, just sort of making a note of that, since this does push everything else down the page significantly. So instead of talking about, so here's the benefit, one of the benefits of the product, right? And this is who it's for, which is okay. I mean, calling out the target audience, I guess, makes sense. But I think we really have to identify what's the problem here that you're solving. Achieve everything they can. How does that affect a school in the UK, right? How does not achieving everything they can affect the school? How does that reflect on the school's reputation? So I'd be looking at let's see, if they're unafforded to. So this is about the students, this is about the students, this is about the students, but how does this actually affect then their education, right? Does it result in missed classes? Do missed classes result in lower grades? Now, you don't want to make too tenuous a connection. I think if you came up here and made a link between access to menstrual products and better grades and better jobs after university, people will pretty quickly throw that in the trash, right? Even if there is some correlation. But if you correlate this more with what other problems could there be, you might use an analogy like you wouldn't want to be the only university or only educational establishment that was rocking computers from the 1990s while everyone else had modern, I don't know, the latest Macs or whatever it is, right? Some analogy saying you wouldn't want to be known as the only establishment that is so far behind in the times that people are still writing on stone tablets and whatever, right? Over exaggerating here, obviously, but there might be some connection that you can make in that regard, because that would be a potential point of pride or a potential point of pain for a university. We are the most forward-thinking, up-to-date, modern, innovative establishment of our kind in the country or in the city or whatever it is, right? Versus we are the most backwards, out of touch, unsophisticated establishment in our city or in our country, or something to this effect. I could see that being a potential point of pain that might resonate with an establishment of this type, right? Because their main concern is new enrollment, right? A university or college or a technical school, at the end of the day, they are businesses and they want probably enrollment or funding or anything like this. So how do you get that? Well, one way is being innovative. Now, again, these are some of those things. I'm coming up with these ideas off the top of my head. You actually have to go out and do the research and talk to people who are in these situations to understand what are their actual criteria, what are their actual values, what will actually connect with them. But I can see these things as being potential leads in that regard. The issue I see with the text here is this is all about the students, the students, the students, which is correct, which is important. Obviously it is, but it's not connected to any what's in it for me as the institution, as a decision maker at a relevant institution. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? And so on and so on, right? So let's see here. So this is okay. This section's okay. I would have maybe an expanded headline to really again highlight the problem or the pain of the situation, and throughout this entire text here, right? Inequality. So we're talking in large generalizations here about inequality, negative attitude. What here is measurable? If there's a direct correlation to missing school and lower test results, what is that correlation? What is the percentage? Is it missing class results in 20% lower test results, or 50%, or 10%? But being specific, it makes it believable and it makes the argument more weighty. It makes me care more than, well, okay, missing school is a correlation with lower test results. It's like, okay, it's not that compelling without the specificity there. It's something that you can easily go, oh, I've heard that before, or oh, that's nice, or oh, I don't really care, anything like this. But when you show that missing school results in a 20% lower, or whatever it is, 20% lower test results, which can have a compounding effect. Like what's the result of the 20% lower test results? Well, it poorly reflects on faculty. It poorly reflects on the institution, as well as on their future job prospects, the students' future job prospects, right? The two-column approach, I don't really think that's a great idea. I'd make it a single column, because on different screens this might not display properly, and the magazine format doesn't really, I don't think it translates very well online. Say if it's like, okay, well, I don't jump over here now. It's not the most effective iPath, I don't think, online. Not the biggest, most important thing, anyway. Let's see. So, same thing here. There's not really any what's in it for me. So it's like the main pitch here is essentially asking the university, hey, go out of your way to be altruistic and help your female students and just incur this extra expense without getting anything in return. Now, obviously, that's not the intent here, right? Quite clearly, that's not the intent here. But without making that connection, the connection itself, it's not going to reveal itself to the reader. Now, in terms of the actual offer, because right now it's like, hey, let's do a 3-month pilot with you. Instead of that, what I would do is say something like, Elara can help. Here's how we do it. We set up pilot programs that usually, well, actually 3 months is fine. We set up pilot programs with whatever, universities, colleges, businesses, other institutions, however you want to phrase that. And then break it down. What is it? Well, let's see. So actually this is good. We do all this, we do this. I would look at something like, how can you make this impossible to say no to? Something like, well, so I don't know in terms of the actual delivery what you can and can't do, but the more hands off you can make it, the easier it is to say yes to. So if it's something like, we'll set up shipment supply, we'll track the warehouse, we'll train your staff in terms of stocking the individual dispensers, we will track um, student student results reviews, student feedback, and show you if this is working for your student body. But essentially, what I'm going for here is also coming up with what are the criteria of success. What are you going to measure, or what can this university or other institution measure that's going to have them say after the 3 months are done, we want to continue with this, right? So you can establish that criteria, and then it'll be on your terms instead of whatever they happen to measure or not measure. So I would make getting back to the offer then, I would make the offer a step back from setting up a 3-month pilot to, let's talk about how your institution can implement this on either within the budget that they want, or once you figure out what that problem and solution is that they're looking at, so you can solve problem and get outcome, right? So that'll take some research. You have to figure out what that thing is that they want. And one other thing I think would be helpful on this page is, even if you have not yourself implemented this with any institutions, find some case studies, some third-party case studies. You might even find some case studies of schools abroad, like in Silicon Valley or something, that have implemented such a program and what they saw as results. Because it could be, then if you have your main argument up here, and then you have some case studies in this next section, then it's like you're immediately proving the argument that you're making up here and showing them, oh, these are all the great outcomes and benefits that you can get from actually doing this, from actually implementing this. When University X implemented their program, how did that affect? What were the effects? What were the outcomes? And then you go on to say, we can help you do the same thing. Talk to us here. It might even be a step back from that. We can talk to you to see if it even makes sense to explore the opportunity to implement such a program. Maybe you've been considering it, maybe you haven't, but having seen then all these stats and all these this marketing argument, it's like maybe you have looked at this before, maybe you haven't looked at this before, maybe you've not had the budget for it in the past. Wherever you're at, we can have that conversation, help you determine if this is something that makes sense for your university to implement, and if you choose to implement it, how to do that in the most cost-effective and in the most effective manner for your students. Something like this. So, to recap in brief, taking all of these ideas and framing them in terms of what's in it for me, first and foremost. So this, instead of talking about having if you had a spotlight for your copy would shine in a spotlight, instead of shining it on the students, shine it on the university and their problems and their desired outcomes, right? Really dialing in what the main outcome or main problem is, and probably targeting the main problem in the headline, possibly the main outcome. But really, this will be speaking to more people at these particular centers and institutions and figuring out what is the bottom line thing that's important to them here, beyond being altruistic, right? What's the self-serving motivation that will make them really feel motivated to take action? So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. Any questions about that, feel free to leave them below this video, and I will see you in another one real soon. Oh, and I suppose before I go, if you want your own site reviewed, if you've watched through this video to the end and you want your own site reviewed, then feel free to pop your link in the comments below this video, and I will see if I can't help you improve your own website conversions. Alright, signing off for now. See you in the next one.